Welcome to the Etsy Conversations podcast, featuring inspiring interviews with Etsy shop owners, hosted by Ijama Elazu.
Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of the Etsy Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Ijama. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode. And this week, my guest is Gabe. Gabe runs the Etsy shop One Aeon. He's run this shop since April of 2006. To date, he's had over 8,000 sales and stellar 5-star reviews with over 3,000 5-star reviews. So Gabe, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. I'm really excited to talk to you because you're doing some really unique stuff on Etsy, but you also have a really unique background beforehand. So thank you for being my guest.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. So can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and then we'll jump right into your Etsy story?
Sure. I hope I'm not going to wander off for too long.
It's okay.
I never know how to tell a short story. I was born in Budapest, Hungary, and I always cared about art and self-expression. 14, I started playing in bands, and evidently led to, further down the line, a more serious heavy metal band, and I had a U.S. tour with them. I ended up staying in the U.S., quitting the band, and basically continue making some sort of merchandise without a band, I would say. Mm-hmm. So staying in a self-expression realm and just trying somehow sell my art. It didn't work on paper. I was trying to sell posters. I ended up printing it on t-shirts and tote bags until Etsy came along, and then...
So you were doing this all before Etsy?
Well, yeah, I always made designs, so it's not new for me. It's just a different platform. But yeah, since I remember, I would just make drawings and paintings on things. And funny enough, it's kind of, I'm kind of running around the same similar themes and ideas. It's just getting better and more clear.
Nice. So you mentioned you used to be part of a band and then you came to America and then decided to stay. So I watched a video of you. Mm-hmm. And in the video you talk about, and I'm going to have links to this video because I want to mention that Etsy actually featured Gabe long before I even knew about Gabe. And I want you guys to check out the Etsy features that were on him back in 2007 and 2008. There's a whole video that Etsy did on the blog about you. So I'm going to have a link to that. And in that video, you said you opened for a band, Slayer. I had to look them up because I didn't know who they were. But apparently they're a big band. It's a big deal. Why did you give up music and that whole, lots of people, well, not lots, but yes, there are people who that's what they dream of and you just walked away from it. What was it that made you know that was not the path you wanted to stay on?
Well, I thought, yeah, it was a huge opportunity and I loved every second of it. I think once you're in a band for 10 years and you live together and work together and do everything together, sometimes not everybody has the same interest. Mm-hmm. So, especially if there's more than one cook in a kitchen, I'm sure you know how that goes. Mm-hmm. So I always been, I feel like, a creative drive for every project I was in a part of. And I felt like my band was coming from Hungary, a country with less than 10 million people. I think now even far more or less, like less than 9 million, I think. Not sure. But I kind of felt like we reached our potential, and I'm one of those guys who like to quit on top. I don't need to wait till the deterioration begins. And I'm not a psychic, and I didn't know what was going on. I just thought I'm 24, 25. If I want to start something else, this is the time to do it. And the rest of the band was kind of homesick, and I wanted to go back to Hungary and play their music there and live their life there. And well, we had like a couple of years when we had to travel back and forth because of our visas. And I just collected more and more memories here in New York. And every time I went back, I was homesick about New York. But every time I was here, I didn't miss anything, of course, besides my friends and family. So that was a very difficult decision. But, one of those situations when I was just drawn to it, I was so fascinated, and I figured I needed to give it a try. This might be my American dream.
Yeah. Nice.
So I'm sorry to cut you off. It's not much to do with, I didn't enjoy
Right.
playing for a couple of thousands of people or something like that. That was fantastic. I just thought there's different things to do, and if I want to do it, I got to start that now.
Yeah. Did you always intend to have your own business? Like, you knew that you didn't want to ever work for anyone again? Because right now what you're doing is your own thing.
Kind of. I mean, I don't mind working at all. I'm a workaholic. I love working, and because of the band and being a musician, especially until you make it to certain levels, you definitely have to have a bunch of jobs here and there. And so I counted the other day. I had about like 40 different jobs. 40. Like a lot of them I tried seriously.
Oh, you did?
A lot of things. So, but that, again, it just helped me to be more easier to adopt to any new situation. I mean, also moving to a different country and learning a different language.
Yeah.
All this, I figured that's going to help me just pick up more different sides of life and get all the challenges done. Just as a different task.
Wow. Interesting. So when did you first discover Etsy? When did Etsy get on your radar?
It had to be around 2005, 2006. In New York, as far as finding a job, I met somebody at the bar. That was kind of my last result. I was trying to get little jobs here and there. And finally, somebody called me on a phone call and said, "Hey, do you want to go out?" And I'm like, "Listen, I'm broke. I don't have any money. I hardly know anybody. I'm just a Hungarian guy here, but I have language barrier and all that stuff going on." And they're like, "Just come on out, have a drink, and then we'll talk." I went out and I met a guy who later on hired me. I learned how to silk screen from this guy. He's his name is Oliver Ackerman, and he runs Death by Audio, handmade silk-screened guitar effect pedal company, who since blown up and been in all magazines. And actually, he has a band which is also fantastically well received, especially lately. The band called A Place to Bury Strangers. And Oliver Ackerman in New York, I met him. And then because his pedals were silk screened, I was the guy who did the silk screening. So I had to learn all that method. And then one day I just asked him, "Do you think it's possible to print something on a t-shirt?" And he explained that basically most t-shirts being made like this. So soon enough, I started my own t-shirt company, which was just a couple of t-shirts. I ran around the city and got into a bunch of stores. I think 29 within the first year.
Wow.
And then one of the stores, I was trying to develop friendship with all the owners and just network and maintain good work and friend relationships. And then a girl, how I unfortunately forgot her name or what the store was called. But she told me like, "Hey, you got to sell online." And then in 2005, it's almost sounded ridiculous when I had 29 stores selling my t-shirts. And I'm like, all right, I'll give it a try, but I didn't think it's real. And I think a few months later, I was selling on the famous Artist and Fleas Market in Williamsburg. And then Mary Andrews, who ended up being hired by Etsy around 2006-ish, her and her friends were just begging me, "You got to come by Etsy," when Etsy was at Gold Street. And I really just I didn't think what was the point for me being there? I always considered myself this rebel metal kid, and everything I've learned and knew about Etsy, like a lot of us, I kind of believe was just for older people crocheting. So, which was totally fine and respectful. I just didn't think I belonged there.
Right.
And then she just convinced me. So just brought cute girls and then Gabe, hey, listen, you got to come by at Etsy. It's a great place. It's close by.
Wait, sorry. Did you say she brought cute girls?
Yeah. And Mary, she's a very sweet girl herself. And she was like, hey, kind of still at the market, but I work for Etsy now. You should really stop by. It's amazing. And so I've just heard more about it. It was literally, as far as I know, Etsy got famous by word of mouth, which is fantastic. So I just heard more and more about it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go check it out. So I went check it out, and then people liked me so much that they said, hey, do you want to be in a new Etsy promo video? You have an accent. You represent this American dream. You're the perfect candidate, and what you do is it's probably going to be great for us. So this is how I've learned or heard from Etsy and learned from Etsy and got involved. And within literally a few months, I was on a front page and they shot a video on me later on. So that was gigantic and a huge step. It was back when they put the featured artist on the front page.
Yeah. Okay. So that's how the video came about.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Interesting. And like I said at the beginning of the show, I'm going to have a link to that video. They also did a featured post on you where they asked you some questions. And back then, were you running your Etsy shop with someone else?
No. Then girlfriend, now wife.
Okay.
My wife, Leola.
Yes.
She helped me out here and there, but basically it's a one-man operation.
Okay. Wow. So when Etsy featured you, did you find that helped to boost your sales and all that? Or was the site still not big enough yet that it made an impact in what was going on with your Etsy shop?
When the very first video, which is an Etsy promo, just like a simple YouTube video of what Etsy is and introduced to the world. I mean, this is back then when Rob was running the show, and I think Etsy probably had, I would say, less than 40 people. Mm-hmm. And they just moved to Gold Street and had that giant owl up. And when they shot that first video, I almost still wasn't a believer. I was just like, all right, that's fine. I guess, we'll see how that's going to come out. My accent, and am I really going to help with this? And then, of course, when I was on a front page and then the sales were coming, I was blown away. And I did believe it was something fantastic and big. And Tara and Bree Pettis, these two people were working for Etsy, and they shot the video of me. And I remember having, later on meeting them. None of them worked for Etsy anymore. But later on I met Tara Young. Sorry, my R doesn't roll.
That's okay. I know.
Tara. Tara. When I had a lunch later on with her a couple of years later, I remember at the new Etsy place, or, well, the Etsy place, as you would call it now.
The current one.
Yeah, the current one.
Uh-huh.
I remember having a meeting, and then I just saw like 100 people or more getting in line for having some sort of lunch, and one line went for vegetarian. I was blown away, and I was like, wow, this place has really gotten huge. And she said, I really don't know anybody here. There's just people work here like a big corporation. And I was like, wow, it's really gotten big. And then I learned about the West Coast headquarters and Europe in Berlin and all that. The Etsy just exploded around then. So good for them. I was really blown away.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you were really there like right from the beginning, or, very close to the beginning anyway.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. So what specifically do you sell in your Etsy shop?
I sell t-shirts, tote bags, hoodies, sometimes postcards, sometimes patches. If anything I can get my hands on and I think it's cool, I try to make it work. I mean, my point wasn't ever to run a t-shirt company.
Mm.
My point was is just to get my t-shirts out there. My designs out there.
Right.
And I started selling my artwork on markets, and I tried to print them on posters, and either people didn't want to pay what I asked for, even though I didn't think they were expensive. Still, it was so much better received when I started putting them on t-shirts. And I'm like, oh, okay, that might be something that works. And then that's where my t-shirt company career started. But I really wanted to just sell my art in the first place.
Wow. So it's more about the design than the actual product, because you know how you hear people say, and I know we've talked about this on the podcast before, to find your niche and then stick with it. So if you're doing t-shirts or clothing, do that. But your shop is more about selling your designs. And so whatever you can put your design on, you will. And then people can buy what they like, but they're really shopping for designs, not the actual item, right?
Well, I like to think so. They probably look, I mean, all the reviews showing that I'm fantastic with my t-shirt company, selling a t-shirt, and I'm very happy that it turned out this way. But yeah, for me personally, that's the point. But regardless, I'm happy to sell on t-shirt or anything else, and then obviously I pay more attention what kind of t-shirt I'm printing on and what kind of just material and fabric, and you learn. I guess I learned everything hands-on.
Mm-hmm.
I always had a hard time learning anything in school. I never really went to school for anything I ever done in my life. So I just believe once you do something on your own, that's the best way of learning it.
Right. Hands-on.
Not always the smartest way or the most financially beneficial way, but definitely for me that works the best. So I just had to try out things, and at some point that's when my wife came in and was a really huge a big help, because she used to be a makeup artist doing a ton of fashion shows, and she had a better sense of fabric and feel and what people like, especially women. Most of my customers are definitely not men.
Okay.
As same matches kind of with how Etsy is set up.
The Etsy customer.
Yeah, Etsy customers or sellers, I think mainly more female.
Right. Was it her? Is she the model in the pictures?
No, well, my wife was modeling way back then, but those photos are gone. It was a long time ago.
Okay.
No, I have a lot of models I try to work with, because I think that's just another way to reach out to people. People can resonate. And actually, I have a lot of questions about models, especially with friends, or if I meet somebody and they check out the website. The first thing usually people say is not about the designs or how great the t-shirts, but how did you get all these models? Just funny. Most models find me or reach out to me with a portfolio or a bio, and I email them. We keep contact, and then if everything works out right, then we're starting with the project, and that you see the fruits of the labor.
Right. Do they find you on Etsy?
They find me on Etsy or Instagram.
Oh, okay.
I also have a profile on Model Mayhem, which is kind of dedicated for the modeling industry, and then you can find people, photographers, stylists, makeup artists, models.
Oh, I see. Okay. Do you do all the photography yourself?
I do some of the photography.
Mm-hmm.
I actually do a lot of, excuse me again for clearing my throat.
It's okay.
Maybe you can recognize, some people reach out to me like, oh my goodness, I can see all corners of your apartment now. Because some of the background is just, you can recognize it's the same room.
Yeah.
But no, I work with. So I reach out if I reach out to a model because if this model would be fantastic for my next idea, and we have a good understanding, and if it's an accomplished model with following, they usually have a team working with them, photographers and makeup artists and stuff like that. So they usually bring their own team,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, it's fantastic because I don't need to have everybody be around here, or I don't have to move. So we just I send them the articles, the clothing, and they do the modeling. They contact the photographer, and I just receive the photos. And if I like them, I use them, and then I definitely credit everybody involved. So you can see on the photos, it should be either a credit of a model photographer or somewhere in my description. And if not, it's either because the photographer didn't like it or didn't want to credit, or I took it.
Oh, yeah, I did see that. Oh, wow. So then that's interesting. I've never heard that method before. So it benefits them as well to.
Of course.
Oh,
And
I see.
And this way I can have models from Australia or Canada or whatever, California, New York.
So is it like a barter since they get to wear the clothing and then use the pictures in their portfolio? So instead of paying them, it's like a mutually beneficial project.
Exactly. Everybody got to use the photos if they like it. So even the photographers can use it for their portfolio if they like it. The models, and certainly I'm happy to use them. So it's a good thing for everybody, and the models got to keep their clothes. So why not? It's a good deal.
Oh, they get to keep them too. Yeah, that's a plus.
And then if I have a model like quite a couple of them are somewhat famous, so it's definitely great for me and more eyeballs.
Yeah. So then can you trace sales back to some of these? Like, say somebody posts their pictures on their profile somewhere. Are you able to trace sales back to one of these connections?
Sales maybe not, but attention definitely.
Okay.
Like if I would have a photo session or shoot with somebody and they post all the photos on Instagram and they tag me, and then I see they have a couple of hundred likes, that's definitely a good thing. And I know some of those numbers going to trickle down to my store and take a peek.
Right. Okay. Good. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you to turn back the clock of time. Do you remember when you got your first sale on Etsy?
I think within a week.
Wow.
But for a long time, I just watched Etsy. I was trying to make a profile. I think the one I actually have, it might have been a second one, maybe for a week. I just made one and I just watched everything and it's happening and tried to understand it. I tried eBay before.
How did that go?
And that was very difficult for me to understand. It just took months to really figure out how everything works and how to find everything. Just so many pages with so many buttons, and for a newbie like me, that was difficult. I wasn't quite sure how that worked. So once I figured that out, it was a little bit easier to find everything on Etsy. But once I started, I think I had some sales right away. I mean, we're talking 2-3 sales a month, and I think my first year I had 50 sales, but for the longest time it was really slow. And then when these videos and tremendous help from Etsy came, that everything went upwards.
On average, do you know approximately, if you can share, how many sales per month you're doing now?
Well, it varies.
Okay.
But I like to, if I can, my goal is to try to sell 1,000 shirts a year.
Okay.
That's the sale. So however it breaks down to certain seasons that are better, obviously the holidays.
Yeah.
So I would be maybe not fair to say the lowest and the highest.
Right.
But that's my goal, to do somewhere there.
Okay. Now, because you sell your clothing, most of it is seasonal.
Mm-hmm.
You have lots of t-shirts. So do you find that where on the one hand, a lot of people get lots of sales at the end of the year for, that Christmas holiday shopping, you don't, because your clothing isn't winter wear? Or do you also have a busy end of year selling season?
Oh, definitely. I sell the t-shirts and the tote bags throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say the hoodies slow down during the hot summertime.
Okay.
But still, because I have customers throughout the whole world.
Oh, yeah.
Canada or Alaska, it's still, so I still sell hoodies in the summer, but just not that many.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, meaning the warmer clothing,
Okay.
sweatshirts and long sleeve, stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, it's true. And that's just another benefit of selling internationally.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So are you doing Etsy full time? Do you do anything else for a living, or this is what you do?
When I first started, I was trying to get side gigs, and that was very difficult for a minute. And again, when all these videos came, everything was just fantastic, and I couldn't have even time to do anything else, because I was worrying about my Etsy shop during a week, and on a weekend I would just do markets all the time and have a regular spot. I did a couple of markets in the city, in Manhattan, some in Brooklyn. I tried Queens, and
you were hustling, huh?
Oh, definitely. I tried to run around the stores and just do everything I can. I'm one of those guys that I believe more is more. I listened to a couple of your podcasts, what other people's opinions are, because for me, I don't know if a lot of their ideas would fit me, but definitely it was very fascinating and very interesting to hear what other people do. And then a lot of the advices I always hear, even on Etsy or when people express what worked for them or what advice they can give, I hear a lot of it just to do less and focus on maybe something smaller and trying to accomplish that. I am the opposite. I think more is more, and I just like to push every area as much as I can. I like to overwhelm my customers if I can.
Well, I like that you said that, because I like to hear, I know everybody does it differently, and different things work for different people. So I know there are people out there who have the same philosophy as you. So I'm glad that you shared that, because then it's encouraging to someone to know that, my wanting to push more is what works for me, and, it's working for other people too.
Well, I'm not even sure if it works. Maybe I just don't know any other way.
Yeah.
I just always like to. If I have something new, then I don't believe I'm big enough to really have a giant campaign. And when I have like this big, well announced and advertised sales, it never seems to work out that way. But when I end my sales, I have I have a sale, let's say 25% off, and it seems like everything gets quiet, and when the sale ends, that's when I'm really receiving my real sales. So I just figured maybe I shouldn't be waiting for the right perfect time. Just if I have something new, I post 10 things overnight, and the next day I post a bunch of stuff on social media, and then just keep going.
Is that how you launch new lines that you're carrying?
Yeah, I don't even know if I really believe in seasons, which is ironic, being that I'm basically a part of fashion on some level,
right? Yeah,
or the fashion industry. But I don't believe in seasons, especially not making something for the next 4 or 5 months. I'm one of those guys who, being inspired by life itself. So someday I would just come home and be extremely motivated and feeling creative, and I just come up with 4 or 5 designs. Maybe one of them makes it into a T-shirt, another one a thank you card or a business card, and just throwing around ideas constantly.
Okay. I see that in your one of a kind, you have a new Game of Thrones dress.
Well, yeah, inspired by it for sure.
Yeah, inspired by Game of Thrones. Yeah. How is that doing? And do you tend to like to try out what's popular in the media? Like, because Game of Thrones is huge.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm obviously a big fan of the show itself. And the designs that I tagged with like GOT or Game of Thrones were around before the show, actually. So that's why not only it's probably some sort of infringement problem if I would just start printing Game of Thrones things, but also these designs mostly happened before the show. It was just something I think it connects, and I use my tags like everybody else. You know, you're trying to attract customers and get eyeballs. And
yeah.
This is not saying this is a licensed Game of Thrones design. This is something inspired by it, and I'm a big fan of the show. It resonates with me because all this old school medieval sort of European style war games going on in clothing, and that's where I'm from, and it resonates with my old Hungarian history. So.
Oh yeah. So what does a typical day look like for you?
Well, nowadays I do some dog walking on the side.
Oh, what kind of dog do you have?
My family has a black lab here.
Oh, nice.
And in Hungary, my sister has a golden lab.
Oh.
I'm a big fan of any kind of dogs and cats and animals. Well, if you check out my designs, I have a lot of animal designs.
That's true.
You know, of course, horses and all that stuff, deer, antlers, foxes, what have you. So I wake up in the morning. I usually make my coffee a night before, so I just gotta push a button when I wake up. And we drink coffee with my wife in the morning. I usually go through my emails and trying to answer the questions, and then
sorry, Gabe. So you really are a one-man show.
Yes.
You do all your convos, you do all your shipping to yourself.
Yeah, I literally do everything. I get just whatever your t-shirt company. Just imagine a t-shirt company with PR and advertising, printing, supplies, shipping, designing, printing itself, building the screens, designing my website, dealing with the Etsy shop, answering, setting up the photo shoots, being a photographer, sometimes the model. I mean, I can go on. Literally everything. And I try to cover all the fields, which probably makes me also blind to a lot of stuff. But I don't mind.
Okay. So sorry. So you make your coffee and you answer your convos. Okay.
Yeah, I probably don't do anything before the coffee. And then I go through the emails. I check probably my stats on Etsy. I take a look what's happening on my website, because I have a separate website as well.
Yeah.
And go to the city, take care of my dogs, come home, deal with the printing, run to the post office. I wish I could work one of those stamps.com when you just leave your print everything out and all the postages and mailing and weighing your
why don't you? Why can't you?
Because I live in a building that it's kind of have a silly outside door that doesn't lock. So if I would just leave my stuff out there, anybody can come in and pick it.
I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those houses. Or somebody would have to come in with key. So it's difficult, and the post office is a block away.
Okay.
So I can just run there and take care of that and come home, usually print the rest of the stuff and make my blank orders, seeing what I have to do. Then I go run, come home, and then try to do all my creative stuff in the evening and nighttime.
Do you have some merchandise already made that you can just pack up, or do you make everything as the orders come in?
I have a very limited supply here, just because I make a lot of one-of-a-kind stuff.
Yeah.
And even with my standard items, a lot of my orders followed by a little note that, hey, can you make this in a different color? So kind of everything is, I'm not saying everything is one of a kind, a lot of things is one of a kind. So it's kind of hard to have inventory of all the stuff, but I try my best.
Do you like it that way? Like, do you like that you don't have to carry inventory? Because on the one hand, it's kind of nice because then you don't have to worry about storing inventory. But then on the other hand, it means you're constantly making.
Yeah. I don't know if I like it. I think it has pro and con. Obviously, it would be much nicer if everything would be printed here. But see, I never went to business school to do business. I never picked up a business loan. So just doing everything from your pocket. Obviously, I pay more for things, which keeps my merchandise a little bit more expensive, since I don't order stuff wholesale. I don't order 1,000 shirts, and then it trickles down. A shirt is just a couple of cents. I do, sometimes my blank shirts do cost like $15, and that's how it's end up being 25 or 35, not because I'm greedy or I want more money.
I see.
New York City is, the price is high and you should pay for it. So I just try to give people great quality as fast as possible. And sometimes that means, it takes a week to get a blank shirt finally in the way I want it to. And then just the printing and then the mailing, it doesn't take as much.
Okay. Well, obviously that's working. I mean, people must not be getting upset having to wait for one of the shirts, because like I said at the beginning, you have over 3,000 5-star reviews. So I guess when people get what you send to them, they're happy, because, sometimes people just want stuff in a hurry, thanks to Amazon, although I'm one of them. But,
I love click buy.
Ugh, don't even let me start. So one of the things I like that you said is that you check your stats. How do you react to what you see in the stats?
Well, if it's a crazy peak, I'm trying to find out why is that happening. And if I eventually find out why that peak happened, because sometimes things just happen, someone posts your things are being retweeted, or like I said, I had a model who just reaching out a couple of months later, then we had a photo shoot that, oh, by the way, I forgot I was in the front of this magazine and I wore your t-shirt. Here's the link. And I'm like, wow. And then she was in front of a tattoo magazine. So, that reaches a lot of people, and sometimes I just find out on the fly. So I try to link it and I post it all over social media. So something like this happens. It's obviously not going to happen every day, but if something like this happens, I try to pay attention. Why did it happen? And try to duplicate it and make every day something like that. But again, this is where it comes in. Like, I like to do more is more. So maybe next day I create something possibly equally as popular, but maybe on a different route. Maybe just do a silly ad, or do a commercial, or do an animated ad and post it on Tumblr or something when people can react. And yeah, I'm just trying to be all over everywhere at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Do you have any plans to outsource some of what you're doing so that you can have more time to create more or come up with more designs? Or are you happy doing everything? Because you're like the typical entrepreneur where, it's like, this is how I'm doing it. I've been doing it. I'm going to keep doing it. But, sometimes you hear people say, well, no, if you get some stuff off your plate, you can be more productive. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think on paper it sounds great, but my two major avenues would be the business or financial aspect of it, or the creative part, and I just never know which one would I give up. Probably not the creative part, and then I don't know if it's difficult, but yeah, at some point I would definitely love to have an intern and an employee eventually.
Okay.
It would be nice. It's more like a lot to do with running around and ordering and getting the supplies and going to the post office and getting the photo shoots done.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever lend the creative part to anybody else.
Oh yeah, no.
But I also like the idea that if something is not happening, I'm to blame. But if something great happens, it's,
you're
obvious.
to blame.
It's thousandfold.
Yeah. So, Gabe, what goes into you determining the price of an item that you sell, other than the retail cost or the cost of the raw materials? What else do you take into consideration when you're putting a final price tag?
Tell you the truth, not much else. I have experience at the post office. What shippings are. I know what my envelopes and tissue papers and sometimes the goodies I throw in the bags with the orders, sometimes stickers or postcards or buttons or
nice.
Whatever I have going on. Sometimes nothing, sometimes I run out of things. Or sometimes a handwritten note or somebody would order 10 t-shirts, or somebody would, I have customers that come back for the 10th time, buy things, or they do the whole Christmas shopping at my Etsy shop or something like this. I would be obviously make it known that I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
But the prices itself, it's usually the cost of the shirt, the cost of everything else, and my hours, and what I'm comfortable with. I certainly do not want to sell anything where it's too cheap, and I try to not overprice my items. But I definitely remember before 2008, the economy collapsed. I had no problem selling $40 shirts on markets, unique, one of a kind, multicolor, glow in the dark, interesting original designs for $40. 2015 probably have to take a different approach, so they're not $40 anymore, but I think they're reasonable now.
Mm-hmm. When people buy in bulk from you, do they have the option, or has anyone ever asked you to give like a bulk discount?
Of course.
Oh, okay.
And I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's important. I should say probably the most important part of the business is customer service, if you ask me. And I like to be a customer pleaser, so I think besides probably two person, I never had issues ever with anything or anyone, and I have a lot of returning customers. And what you mentioned, I think the credit speaks for itself.
Right.
So, a lot of good reviews, and I haven't had a lot of bad ones, thank God.
Good. Do you know of other shops on Etsy that sell designs similar to yours? I think it might be hard because yours are all like the concepts are from your own mind and creativity. But have you seen any shops that are somewhat similar to yours?
Yes, I have. I haven't done a lot of research. Like, I didn't check out every t-shirt company on Etsy. But I did see something that was very similar. Sometimes I take photos and I collect them in this little file. Things that are very similar. But, that happens with bigger companies too, such as, just bigger chains and stores would come up with designs that are very similar to mine. And, I would just be like, that's great. I guess I'm doing something that
they like.
could be popular, and I guess that is good. But my goal is never to make money or be successful. Like I said, I still probably keeping this underground
Right.
music approach that I'm all about my creativity and art, and I'm just happy that it actually sells. One of those theories that is no artist lawyer, like there's no painter lawyers, like somebody either an artist and worry about the self-expression and the art itself, and somebody's a great businessman, but they usually the two don't match.
Huh. I've never heard that, but that makes sense.
So I really do care about the artistic part and the self-expression and how everything looks. And I pay a little bit less attention to the business aspect. And I see a lot of the stores that it's a similar design and they're trying to make some money off of it, or so I would see that, but not really. I caught one guy who would use Aeon as a tag all the time.
You're kidding.
In his Etsy shop, and then I just reached out and I pointed it out, and he or she just said, I didn't think I was a no, I'm just very impressed, and I thought that would bring more people, and then I just told the person that it might be true, but
I don't like it. Oh, wow. Huh.
That person actually would use other names too.
Okay. Wow.
So I pay a little bit of attention, but I don't run around on Etsy and see my so-called competitors, because you never know what they do for their success. I would see other people and not understanding what's happening or why is it happening, but not from any sort of jealousy point, just literally trying to understand what's great about it. And then I always think it's silly to compare yourself to others, because they might pay $200 in advertising for somewhere else to get all that eyeballs coming in.
Yeah. Have you ever considered Etsy wholesale, or it's not of interest to you?
I considered it, and I think I am going to get around and take a closer look.
Okay.
So yeah, why not? Everything Etsy has to offer, I think eventually it shows that it makes sense. It's sometimes a lot of weird stuff happening, and I'm not always a fan that how fast they would change things, but that's also life, and I take pride of being I feel like I can adopt pretty easy.
Good. Okay, now let's talk about how you promote your Etsy shop. So the boosts that you got from Etsy was good early on, but I'm sure over time that died down a bit. What do you do today to drive traffic actively to your shop?
Well, everything. Everything is possible. I always set up that goal to myself to have a better month, a better year, break every record. The goal is just to go higher, and obviously life doesn't work that way. So I'm just constantly trying, like I said, something new, and just trying to overwhelm people when there's no other way but to click on it, to check it out, and then do something. So, let's say the last couple of weeks, some people reached out to me to do one of those blog reviews that it's funny. Just before I answered your call, for this podcast episode, I was on Facebook, and somebody posted that people reached out to her, to promote her Etsy shop, and she was worried if it's a spam or what to do. And I just, I left a comment that, let's say I had a store reach out to me like, hey, we're in Slovenia and Eastern Europe, and we have a kind of like a snowboard, skateboard, streetwear, street style shop, and we would love to carry your items. We'd put you in a magazine. What do you think? And so we went back and forth. I sent them a couple of things. I've never heard of them. And then my stuff was just gone. And this was a bad example. And then I also said, hey, here's a person who reached out to me. I didn't know much about her. and she just posted my items on a video YouTube review, and it already had a couple of hundreds of views. So you'd never know what works, but I literally try everything. So let's say I have something new. A couple of weeks ago, I posted a bunch of tote bags. I took a screenshot of all the new tote bags, how that looks. I posted that screenshot on all the social media outlets possible. I try to be on everything from, I don't know if, should I name them all?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest,
Tumblr.
A couple of them are connected.
YouTube. You have a YouTube channel too. Don't forget that.
YouTube, my own website.
Yeah.
Sometimes Google Plus.
Yeah.
Also, I'm on Etsy. I think I'm in 90 teams. So I'm a team member. I go on a forum.
Are you active in all those teams?
Well, I'm definitely active. If I have something new, I'll post it around. So if somebody is a team member, a lot of them are pretty popular teams with a couple of thousand members. So if someone wants to know, they see it. And then I just do straight links to. And then I have also a blog. And I have a blog for my products. I have a blog for my models. I post it on maybe even the modeling page if something new comes up with the model. So whatever avenue exists, sometimes I do just weird little ads and then I post it. If a new thing comes up, I definitely let people know. Yeah. But like I said, I don't have seasons. So a week later, maybe another 20 thing goes up.
Right. And Gabe, I like what you're explaining that you do, because you're right. For the most part, I think a lot of us will pick certain channels that we like, or, because it is kind of overwhelming if you're the one having to do all your own promo to be everywhere. But like you said, you go for everything and you overwhelm your market or the market with what you're doing. And, I like that you have sales to show that, yeah, it's a lot of work, but you are getting the sales. You're at over 8,000 and over 16,000 admirers. So even if not everyone is buying, you're getting the eyeballs to your shop, which is the first step to making the sale.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And I'm going to have links to all of Gabe's social media accounts, so you can click on them and just go directly to wherever he is. And he's in a lot of places, so it will be hard to not find him. Let me just put it that way. Sometimes it's hard to find people when you're looking for them, but not you.
It's probably, honestly, the easiest way. Sometimes I do that myself because it's just easier to type in any kind of long email address or find my links. If you just Google Aeon, number one, and Aeon,
yes,
you will have a ton of results in images or the web, videos, whatever you want. You'll find interviews and everything else.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this and you want to write that down, remember it's one Aeon, the number one, the digit AEON. And he's, that's how you can find him. You also have a podcast. Does the podcast have anything to do with what you're doing on Etsy?
Yes. Not necessarily Etsy, but just, maybe with handmade stuff and crafting and printing and trying your own and trying to get by and trying to be successful or trying to run your own business. It's more like about the hustle. Oh. I know it's a different hustle that a lot of people has in life, so I'm trying not to be hypocritical. But a friend of mine, he's also a silkscreen artist, Matthew J. London. He has his own business. But we all have our inconsistencies. And when we met, we decided to do a podcast, just like what we were talking about, a nice, organic, laid-back conversation on what do you think? It could be great. What can be possible? And then, we wander off, and that's just fine. Mm-hmm. So we had a couple of episodes. I think we had 2 somewhat serious one, and we started having guests, and we had one of them that is kind of just, it was a Bushwick Print Lab party where people come in and they all into DIY and handmade stuff. And that was just basically a running around and a conversation with everyone in the room. So that's kind of, you got to drop into a party, being invited.
Nice. And I'm going to have links to Gabe's podcast. Well, it's on his website. So I'll have the link to his website, and then the podcast is on there. But if you want to look it up, it's called Take the Ride. And that's the name of the podcast. And are you guys going to continue doing the podcast?
Yes.
Good.
I'm never know where things gonna go. So if this is just going slow because we, two people doing it, you always have to find a common ground and time. We don't exactly live next to each other, so sometimes it's difficult. That's why I said we kind of had 3 episodes in a year, so it's not that crazy, but it's fun. And if you travel more than 20 minutes on a train in New York, or you fly a lot, podcasts are the best thing just to get your mind off of whatever is happening.
Yeah, I know. It's
not to mention your podcast having an infomercial or something. It's fantastic, and you can use it and improve on your life and your business. Nothing better than that, just to put on and have a nice free conversation with somebody.
Thanks, Gabe. Yeah, I know. I hardly ever listen to regular radio when I'm on the road anymore. It's podcasts and or whatnot. And you're the second podcaster I've had on. The only other podcaster that I've had on are the Brilliant Business Moms. Well, I guess you're the third because there are 2 of them. But it's nice to talk to other people who, know about podcasting, because it's a different world.
Oh, I think it's spreading. And if I can give anybody any advice, and just, I understand this is a lot to do with Etsy shop owners, but a lot of people, it's not their main thing to do it. It's not their life. Maybe they just do it on the side, or just starting it, or newbies. If I would have one advice, I would say, do a podcast. Start your own podcast. I don't know. I'm not trying to advertise a lot of other podcasts than your podcast.
That's fine.
I'm just saying, just the medium, just the form of self-expression. It's so fantastic because it's really, truly you. Right. And that's why I like to continue running, if I can possibly, everything in my shop, because you're getting me. This is so personal for me. That's why I pour so much time and energy and creativity into it. Because not only I can't do anything else, this is literally me. So I just want to show what's in my dreams, what's in my imagination. And if you can hear it on my voice, you can hear my thoughts, how did I get there. And I think it's important for everybody else. If you really want to connect to your customers, that's how they're going to understand where you're coming from. If you talk about yourself, who you are, where you're from, how you started. I
love that, Gabe, because, I wrote an article, this was over a year ago or so, about ways that I think Etsy shop owners, but really anybody, like you said, can help to promote themselves. And one of the ways I said was a podcast, because you connect on a personal level. The truth is, it's work. It's not easy, but when you're running a business, hardly anything is easy. So it's easy to just get past that hurdle and know that it's going to take some work. It's going to take dedication. But I'm totally with you on that if Etsy sellers want to really get more personal, like get word out, get people to know them more and whatnot, a podcast is great, especially now that a lot of people have long commutes, or, they're on the road a lot, or work from home and might need something in the background while they're working, especially other makers who are making stuff tend to like to listen to stuff because you're not just going to sit in front of a TV screen and stare at it when you have stuff to do. It's easier to just listen. I think podcasts are great for that. And I think they would work well for Etsy shop owners. And it's such a nice medium to get into. It's, I don't know how I want to express it.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think that's a fantastic way to connect. And I think that's the future, so much better than radio. So I know radio reaches a lot more people, but just once you give it a try and you have no commercials and having someone speak into your ear that's inspiring and motivating, I don't think there's anything better than that. Not to mention, there's no given format. You don't have to have even a beginning or an end.
Yeah.
It could be 2 minutes long.
Yeah. And so the other thing I like is that, well, at least for me, I should say for me, I can't speak for everybody. I find that it's less cutthroat. Like, I would love it if some Etsy seller were to say, okay, I want to start my own podcast. Give me some tips. Can you help me? Of course, I'll tell you, stuff that I know and, point you in the direction of people who know more than me that you can learn from and stuff like that. And so it's not so cutthroat because, there's some venues or some things that you try to do, especially in the business world where it's not, where the community isn't as giving, the community isn't as sharing. And I think with podcasting, and maybe it's just my experience, but with podcasting, I've just found it's not competitive that way. As in, there's a lot of support there, people who are willing to help you along the way. And also, if you're an Etsy seller or you have some other business and you're trying to run, you're thinking about starting your own podcast, ask me questions. I'm more than happy to answer them.
And then also, sorry, I just wanted to add one more thing that it is so inspiring to hear a podcast. You might don't have any idea. I'm talking to you, Ujima, that your podcast is very motivating and very inspiring. And while you do such a fantastic job, and I think your podcasts have such a phenomenal, everything. I just love everything about it. I love the emails. I love how you pay attention to the details and what you try to do essentially for a community that it didn't start with you don't, as far as all the episode I listened to, you make it not about you, which is, I'm a guest and I'm glad I can come in and talk about all my stuff, but it is really hard to make it pleasurable and enjoyable, so selfless the way you do it. So I really admire what you do and I really look up to you. I'm super happy to being on a podcast.
Thank you, Gabe. The check will be in the mail. No, thank you. I appreciate that. I really do.
I'm serious because this, without you knowing it, gonna spark a little flame, and then another 10 people are gonna start their podcast because of it.
Good.
Definitely.
I hope so. Thank you, Gabe. Okay, now back to Etsy. Have you ever considered closing your shop and just, maybe just running your own website? Because there's people talk about having your own home on the web and not relying on anyone else. Have those thoughts ever crossed your mind?
Sure. All the time. I think like everybody else, when I read somebody freaking out in the forums or in Teams and be like, I can't believe I didn't sell anything and I saw, it's, we're humans and we imitate our environment and we freak out and we like things to keep being awesome once it's awesome, but it's never the same and you cannot go back in time to that ever. So you have to think for the future, and that's why I like, or that's why I should say don't mind that Etsy changing so much. I'm just this way. I moved here from a different culture, different language, and I had to adopt, and it takes a lot. It's hard work, but it pays off. And once you're comfortable in your new environment, another new things are happening. Let's just say I got to go to the city. New York City has a couple of trains, and sometimes one of them is not running. You still got to get to your locations. How are you going to get there? You got to get alternative routes to get there. And this helps me tremendously to figure out the way, what can I do when there's a block. So if I feel like things don't go well, I have a long list of things to do. What am I doing then? Like, let's say you post things and there's no reaction. What can I do? And partly I listed them. Just, if you're doing everything in your business, there's so many tools to do. So just go to somewhere else where leave that one thing that's not working.
Yeah.
Like if you post something and it doesn't sell, you might want to go to your bestsellers and double that, or make something similar, or post that somewhere where it makes sense, or put things that you sell tremendously on sale. Give a discount, do a family dad and son t-shirt, or you know what I mean? There's so many things you can do. This is a time you can try a new method. This is a time when you can offer a discount that goes to some sort of charity. You can try so many other outlets, and maybe people find you because of that charity, not because of what you do. And that way you open a gate for new people to check out your stuff, and maybe they will like the things you're not selling.
Oh, I like that, actually.
Just keep open-minded and loose. Don't be so rigid, and things don't. Sometimes the cookie just crumbles a different way, and it's a bad day. Maybe the stock market is down, or a new war started on the other side of the world, or who knows what's happening with the dollar. Maybe your international sales don't go well. There is always a way. Don't forget, there's 7 billion people on the planet, which I tell myself very often. Why can one just find me today? I do everything I can. But my slogan, basically, whatever I want to do, and I set up a timeline. Like, let's say I want to have a fantastic year, but it's not going that well. I am not going to be the person on January 1st sitting my head on my knees, being just upset and be like, I should have tried this or that. So you want to try everything as possible. So on your end, you exhausted all the avenues possible. That's my approach.
I like that. So basically, it's the idea that we actually have more control than we sometimes realize that we do over what's happening.
Definitely.
Yeah, I like that. And that's something good to keep in mind. So yeah, if something changes on Etsy or even on Google search and whatnot, and you think people aren't, coming to your shop or as much or what have you, there's always something you can do. That's a good thing to keep in mind.
Probably the most frustrating thing for me, definitely this year and the last year, was the Google algorithm change, and how Etsy adopted that, and how can you have 10 sales a day turning into 1 sale a week? What do you do then? And you have bills to pay, and gotta put money and food on the table. So you just gotta go around and try everything else. Trust me, there's a way. The internet and Google and Etsy is not trying to take everything away. If there is nothing else, you can be just experimental for a little bit. I think it's very important, and I hardly see or read about it, and people never mention it. Everybody just wants the golden ticket, right? Like, what do I do so I become a millionaire and I don't have to do anything? Well, the trick is you always have to do something, and the more you make, the more you sell, the more you have to work. I think one of the most important tools is your attitude, how you wake up and deal with it. Like, if you get up in the morning or whenever you get up and look at your Etsy shop and stats, you just kind of have the attitude like, oh, there's nothing again. Because then you won't be motivated to do anything else. But it's also probably not that great if it's always goes so well. So
right.
I think you should just always be on your foot and then be ready for something new and try new things. I mean, I guess I would call myself a creative person. I hate the word artist. I guess that's the closest to me, and that's what people call me.
Yeah.
I just call myself a creative person who just like to literally self-express and, trying to turn it into a business venture. That's difficult, but just to try to be creative. Think of a really good advice. I've heard this on a different podcast. I'm not sure if it's his original idea, but he definitely says it a lot. Joe Rogan. I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan, and his podcast. I don't like a lot of the things he does or says or agrees, but I agree with a lot of things. He said once, if you try to take control of your life, just think of your life as a movie, and you're the superhero in a movie. What would you do? What would you do if you're the superhero movie? Would you lay on a couch and be sad about you're not selling? No, you would get up and try to do something. Do that. Do what the superhero would do in your movie. And it's not just to better your life. It's just to better your job, better your relationship, better everything.
Yeah.
It's so nice to look at it from the outside, because from the inside is, if you have
It looks bad.
Yeah, if you don't have a great day, you don't have a great day. It's so hard. But when you just look at yourself, I'm a human being trying to work this internet thing. I have amazing things, and people love amazing things. There's a way to get around. There's a way to get around. If not from Etsy, maybe you can link something from outside of Etsy and bring them in Etsy. I often joked about it, like how many customers I got into Etsy and how many people just came to my shop and said, oh my God, I've never been in Etsy, but because of your shop now I'm here. I'm loving it. So that definitely happens and definitely possible. And sometimes that's very important too, to think, well, in my opinion at least, that sometimes you do something you don't think it's important. It might be the most important thing you've just done.
I like that.
Don't discredit. Don't think just because it didn't work for somebody else, because the other store is not doing it, because your friend's not doing it, but it sells. Just don't worry about that.
Yeah.
You don't need to compare yourself to others. I know that's a lot of advice going on and around Etsy, and people often say, like, check out your competitors, and that's an easy thing to do. Your competitors are checking you out. You know what I mean? It's sometimes no need to go there and worry about they selling more or less or do something different. You're you. That's your chance to be as unique as possible. Get away from the pack and be you. That's what people like when you're authentic and organic and honest.
So
I
no, sorry. Okay, finish your sentence. I have another question.
Sure. No, I'm done. Go ahead.
Okay. So I was going to say, along those lines, what's something that you are doing that you think is working well for you?
I don't think it's anything specific.
Okay.
But I gotten a lot of compliments on my models that I mentioned. A lot of people bring it up first because obviously it's a visual thing. And I think I try to pick models besides if they have a following or they have a fantastic look. Of course, I'm very happy to work with them. But I'm just happy, let's say, to present normal, everyday, regular, next door person. So I think I have a lot of my models look like just people on the street when I leave my house, which is I feel like it's a lot more almost touchable.
Relatable, right, yeah.
Yeah, people relate if the model looks like them. If it's not that perfect or professional, again, I'm not all about being perfect, because I think not only nothing is perfect, but humans are not perfect. So everything we do is going to be a little bit off, but that's the beauty of human-made, handmade stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry.
No, go on.
I often just wander off. So sometimes
Go on, no.
So sometimes I would do something that seems silly, or it doesn't make sense. But yeah, just venture off. Don't worry about what would it make you look like or what would people say. I think there's no bad advertisement, and whatever you do is awesome. And if people talk about you for any reasons, I think it's fantastic. So you just try different things. Like I said, if you're on social media, which 2015, if you're selling online, you should be on social media, because then you're around the internet, then you know this website, and just a couple of other clicks or apps to download. Go around it. Go on Snapchat. Go try out the new things. Try out Periscope.
Have you tried Periscope?
Well, I want to try Periscope, and I always want to do some weird stuff with Periscope. Here's the problem. Here's my problem doing something from my house in Periscope. It gives you the location.
Oh.
So I not necessarily want to.
Can't you turn that off? Because you can turn it off on like Twitter and Facebook and stuff. Can't you turn it off on Periscope?
I think that's sort of the point of Periscope.
Oh, okay.
But it might be. I didn't go crazy and check it out. But I know it, and I posted some stuff just here and there for fun. I always want to Periscope my running, because I run around Prospect Park, and I think it would be fun for others to see. If any listeners don't know what Periscope is, it's just an app when you can stream things. So basically, imagine your YouTube video you're recording live, and a million people can tune in.
Yeah.
And so I would just walk around the street, and I would see, let's say there was a street fair or a party at Dumbo, and I would put in, hey, stream now. I'm at the party in Dumbo, and within 4 seconds, 60 people watching.
Yeah.
All over the world. What is this party about? Not that it was good or long or anything like this, but if you have a workshop and you don't mind people knowing your location and where you're at, right. Especially if you wanna, if you have a store when you actually sell things, so maybe you have a storefront and you have in the back you're making your things.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. Or
that would be so great. I think that would be really good for Etsy sellers, except for I didn't realize the whole geolocation thing, because I know people I would have concerns about that. But yeah, I think it's so great.
The other thing I want to try on, and if you are in this position, anybody listening, try it. I'm sure it's fun, although don't forget it, because you can put it in your pocket and people still watching and listening what you do the next day. If that happened many times. Actually,
it happened to you?
It didn't happen to me, but I've heard a lot of stories of gamers. It's really big in the gaming community. I always wanted to do this on Twitch TV, which is a website when you can go and watch just people do anything. Some people just leave it on and you can watch they eating dinner or do anything, or gamers playing video games, and you can follow the 12-hour long crazy adventure video games, how it unfolds. And so I'm sorry, I was going to say, if you're selling on a market, I bet that would be fun.
Right, like at a craft fair and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that would be. Yeah, I think there are many creative ways that Etsy sellers can use Periscope, and it's still so new. So it's not like you have to have a massive following or anything.
No.
People just drop in anyhow. But I have to say, a friend of mine did a Periscope something. I don't know what you call it. Session? What do you call it? I don't know. And
Periscoping.
Yeah. And, you have weird people who will drop by. So just brace yourself for that. Who just drop by just to say nothing constructive in particular. So they will always be there. They're on the blogs. They're on Twitter. They're everywhere. So just brace yourself. But the other thing I wanted to mention was I really like that you said, even if people, do what you need to do to make your business successful, even if people think some of what you're doing might be stupid, only because I literally 2 days ago started reading a book called The Power of Starting Something Stupid, or The Power of Doing Something Stupid. And that's the whole idea is, if at the beginning of the book, he talks about how some of the most innovative things that we have today came out of somebody's idea that everyone else around them thought was just dumb or not going to work or just outright stupid. And they said, no, that's stupid. That will never work, and then, it turns out that they did. And so I haven't finished the book. I'm in the middle of it now, but the whole premise is if in your gut there's something that you know that will work for you, again, like Gabe said, not everything works for everyone. Do what works for you. If there's something that you know will work for you, even if other people might not think it's the best strategy, they could be right, they could be wrong, but you should at least try.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just not too crazy about their job. And I think a lot of people just go to work, come home, and they just want to be done with what they're doing. And not everybody picks their job, and that just happens. So I'm on the side actually, with my whole setup, the colors, the designs, the models, and everything I do. I think so I'm somewhat in the entertainment industry, in the entertainment business a little bit. Maybe I'm in art, where I definitely like to think so as a starting point. And I understand because I print my stuff on, and my designs on t-shirts and tote bags and hoodies and wearables, that it becomes some part of maybe the lower ranks of the fashion industry. But I think we're also in an entertainment world. So if you can, like, this podcast is not just infomercial and fascinating and motivating and inspiring, but it's also entertaining. So if you can just give people some entertaining, they also appreciate that. If you make a video when you're talking about your shop or how did you start it, or talking about your struggle, oh my goodness, that's almost better than just to post like, hey, these are my new earrings. You know what I mean? Like, people like interesting stuff when they can connect rather than here's my product, that's much it is, even though sometimes I fall into that.
Right. We all do, but you're so right. People want more. And sometimes if you just put in the effort to just do just that little bit more, that yes, it's going to take more effort than you might want to exert, but it helps.
And I think it's catchy. If you're doing something you believe in it, and it's not in this best form, once someone following you and then see you a month later doing it just a little bit better, but there's a progress, it's instantaneously going to make them think, what can I start today? It may be, not as great. I'm sure, like I said, I never went to school to do anything that I'm currently doing or made a living off. I learned on hands or on my own experience. And trust me, in the beginning, boy, I mean, not too long ago, I checked out my earlier sales and the photos I had, and similar items, but not the same photography, not the same description. I had no idea what was I doing. Yet that time, I thought that's the best I'm doing. So I think it's inspiring if your neighbor here, you're doing a podcast, you're doing a video blog, you're selling your own thing, you're creating. It sounds so much better to coming home from a 9 to 5 and someone asks, how was your day? It's fine. I'm ready to grab a beer.
Yeah. Okay. I have 2 questions for you. First one, what tools are you using right now that you're currently really enjoying that you want to share? So it could be some type of software, photography tool, something for Etsy, something for your craft. What tool or resources?
Well, the newest thing I'm trying to figure out right now is buying the bids on Etsy and then trying to put in some sort of buy the ads. And I'm playing around what item can people peek and how much I charge if they click on it. And you know what I'm talking about?
So the Etsy promoted listings?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Sorry, not knowing a full name.
Oh, no, that's fine. Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. Okay, cool.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the things I like. I like to manage it and play around, and I see what I thought it's going to be viewed, and everybody wants to click on it. No one's clicking on it. People click on it, stuff I never imagined they clicking on it, but because my other links and cross promotion that got a lot more attention, and here we go. That thing is selling. So
you're using the Etsy promoted listings basically to give you more information about what's popular in your shop?
Exactly.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I also recommend, people often say to know what to do in your business, you have to learn who your customers are.
Yeah.
And I think it was kind of the easy way for me. And I thought my customers are the people I thought my customers will be. So I did a simple survey. I think there's a bunch of ways to get a free survey. There's so many apps or websites you can go to and sign up.
Yeah.
I think I went on to SurveyMonkey.
Yeah, SurveyMonkey.
And then you can set up a simple questionnaire. I add it to the email that people receive once they purchase from me on Etsy. And if they feel like it, fill out this survey, and that's going to help me to better understand my customers. And so I know who my main customers are, which, like I said, I thought the people are, which are people I'm targeting. But I mean, I don't, the only thing is a crazy variety is the people's job that I didn't think. That doctors and lawyers and higher ranked people also like my crazy tattooed models. But you never know. And again, it assures that sometimes you just throw things out there and then all kinds of people jumps on it from all kinds of angles. So
I like I've never heard anyone else who is surveying their customers that way. What type of response rate do you get to the survey that go out that way?
I think I reached like 500 people filling it out or something.
So do most people respond?
No,
okay.
I actually think just in general surveys filled out about like 10% of people the survey given to. So you have to know that's a very little margin of people actually asking, or people don't even read maybe that part.
Yeah.
Or don't feel like fill out the survey. When it comes to the survey, they don't have time but I think it's a simple 5-10 questions. If people like your shop and they keep coming back for years, I'm sure they want to help you to understand them better, therefore serve them better and give them so much more what they actually looking for.
Wow. I love that strategy.
That makes the perfect match. I mean, literally what you want to do is just going around your elbow to get to that point is to find the perfect customer for your item, because there's one out there. Just trust this, there's one out there.
Yeah. So Gabe, I've never asked this before.
Okay.
Is there any Etsy shop that you would like to just give a shout out to that you think is doing something really nice, or you like what they sell or what have you?
Oh boy.
And it can be none, because I didn't even know I was going to ask this question. So.
Well, I have a good friend of mine. We don't really keep contact. Her shop is Sparkle Farm.
Sparkle Farm,
and she sells jewelry. And we might be not that close, but we sold next to each other on markets back then, and we were just good company.
Yeah.
It's run by Erin, and she's really sweet. I learned some things from her, and then we just keep helping each other. And then her Etsy shop and market just blew up in front of my eyes. Being somebody who did not know much, was just kind of a newbie, and you could tell in her eyes like she didn't know what to expect. And then within 2 years, to blew me out of the water.
Wow.
And so I really like what she's doing. It's probably not my favorite stuff or shop or somewhere where I go all the time. But if I want to give a shout out, I think she's a good one.
Okay, cool. Thanks for sharing. I don't know why it just occurred to me that I should ask people who do they like on Etsy. Okay, Gabe, what's the best way people can reach you if they want to get in touch with you? I'll have all your social media, so you guys can get that on the website. But Gabe, what's your preferred way for people to reach you?
I don't mind. Probably Etsy or my if you go to my Instagram, I post my actual email that comes directly to me, but so is the Etsy. I mean, I check my Etsy emails probably 3 times a day, and if I have time, I answer it. Maybe I'm on the road, or I'm doing something else, or I'm in the kitchen or printing, or in and out from the train, but I notice, and within a day, I definitely answer.
Okay. And I will have Gabe's contact information on the website. And Gabe, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really loved hearing more about you and your backstory. And this has turned out to be a longer than usual episode, but there was just too much stuff. I didn't want to cut anything out. So thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you. Sometimes I just can't shut up.
It's all right.
So it's good. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. And I thank you for listening, and I will be back next week.
Thank you for listening. You can subscribe to the podcast in iTunes, and while you're there, please leave a review too. Visit convome.com to leave a comment or feedback on this episode.